Are you thinking about starting a mobile golf simulator company, but you don't know where to start or what kind of challenges lie ahead? I think we may be the channel on YouTube for you all to come to as a resource to figure out how to get started in this business. And I plan on posting a lot of videos, tips and tricks and things like that to help people just like you get started in this industry. So today what I want to talk about is what I feel like was our biggest mistake when we got started. The number one mistake when we started out was learning how to protect our projection screen. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so the sun is, I think, like a million or a billion lumens, right? A projector is about 2,500 to 3,500, or if you're getting into like the really premier projectors, you're in like the 4 to 5,000 lumen range. So do the math there. The sun is going to beat your projector every single time. So what I've heard horror stories of people going to an event that's an outdoor event and not being prepared to fight the sun. It happened to us. We thought we were fully prepared for our first outdoor event. We weren't. And it worked out where it was a late enough event where we were able to fight against the sun just enough to salvage our event. We weren't happy with the quality of our projector or the quality of the visual on our projection screen. One thing I would say is it's so important to talk to somebody who has done this before and can help you, fight some of these unforeseen battles before you're actually there in front of people and at a paying customer's event. So I'll just give you the story that happened to us and then kind of what we did to fight against it. When we first bought our setup, we didn't have the expectation to do almost half of our events outdoors. So we bought an indoor setup. And if you've seen our videos, it's very small, it's compact. It's exactly 12 feet wide, 8.5 feet high, and about 6 foot of depth. And we went with the smaller setup so that we could fit into indoor spaces. And that's exactly what we've done. That's what we strive for, is to be as compact as possible. But we were getting a lot of requests for outdoor events, and we had turned some down because we just weren't prepared for them. We just had the indoor setup. And if you've seen online, you've probably seen some of the setups that you can get from China that are like monstrosities. They're huge, big structures, probably 2 or 3 times the size of what we have. But you can use them outdoors or indoors, which is really cool. I've heard that those aren't perfect at blocking out the sun either, and I've heard that they get really, really hot inside those structures. So we got the smaller setup so that we could set up in restaurants and breweries and, like I said, tight places. And we decided, well, let's give it a shot. Let's do an outdoor event. And so we bought a tent that matched up with the dimensions of our bay. We were able to prop it up about, I think it was 18 inches we had to prop it up so that you could take a full swing. Because most of those tents, they come, I think the ceiling height is 8 feet, which isn't enough for like a driver or just a taller golfer to hit a wedge. So we wanted to give it the full, 9.5 feet around the edges, and then it goes much higher in the middle. It's probably 12 feet in the middle. And then we configured it. We have a warehouse here where we were able to get it situated. We're like, okay, well, this is where the golfer would stand inside this tent. We'll line it up with the bay like this. And we thought we had it down pat. It came with we bought one with the side curtains that it comes with to keep the sun out. And we set it all up and we were like, oh, it looks great. Like, it looks so professional. Let's go do it. So we went. And let me tell you, we got really lucky that this was an event that started at, I think, 6 p.m. because I think until 7 p.m. we were struggling with making it look good. Our curtains, we didn't realize your curtains, they have to get all the way to the ground. We were on a turf field, so the turf had this like reflective situation going on where the sun was coming down and like kind of bouncing off the turf and creating like a glare inside of our tent. And what we realized was that those tents that you buy, they're pretty much created so that if you're outside, you're under a tent and in the shade, but it's still creating light in there. So there's like a reflective ceiling. The inside of the curtain is silver. Everything's silver to to create the reflections to make it nice and bright, because usually those tents are used at like events where you're selling a product under your tent at like a trade show or like an outdoor fair or something like that. So when you go up to those, you'll see they're like nice and glowing in there, but also in the shade. But that's not what you want when you're, running a golf simulator company. So we learned that when we propped our tent up, it brought our curtains up, which we knew that was going to happen. We just thought we had to get the sun, when it comes down, it doesn't hit the bed. That's not the case. The sun is much more intense than that. It hits things, it reflects off things, and it gets underneath the tent, and it gets in, and it bounces all, it reflects. What we did that day was, once we raised our tent up, we had to, like I said, the curtains were only 8 feet when we had raised our tent to about 9.5 feet. So there was a situation going on there. And we put some of our carrying materials, like our box that we carry a lot of our tarps in and things like that, and our tie downs. And we put that to a point where like we had that take the shadow away from where the golfer was, and that helped. And we had to sacrifice one side of the tent and put 2 on the other side so that we could really get effective. And we were doing this like scrambling, right? We weren't prepared for this. So we're scrambling, thinking of ideas, trying to come up with a solution for the sun. We made it work, but I don't want you all to end up in a situation like that. So that's why I'm telling you the story. So we made it work that night, and by like 7 o'clock, 7:15, it looked incredible. And like the screen was just, it was beautiful. But there was still like an hour of that event where we were sweating it. Luckily, we made it work, and the customer was super happy, and everyone had an awesome time. It was one of our best events. Like, we had a great time, and it was our first outdoor event, and so we were really patting ourselves on the back. We overcame all those challenges. So after that event, we did some research, and we said, well, we need to invest in some better curtains, because these curtains are reflecting. It took us a while to realize that that was the issue. The reflection was the issue. It wasn't the projector. The projector was doing its job. The projector is fighting that battle, right, against the sun. And that's a tough battle. Like, let him just fight that one, and then we'll figure out the rest. Like, let's set the projector up for success. Instead of just investing in a $10,000 projector to fix this issue, we said, let's fix the environment. So that's another thing I would stress to you all, is that when you run into an issue, don't just throw money at the problem. Like, think through each issue.